Welcome to the Full Time Life podcast. I'm Steph. Full Time Life stands for the notion that the concept of work-life balance is flawed. There's no such thing as work separate and apart from life. It's all just life. And it's up to each of us to create our own perfect formula, our own balance ratio, so that we feel like we're living a full-time life. Many years ago, I was coming out of a rut and I knew that something needed to change. I set my intention at the time to be the best me. And as part of that, I came up with the idea for the 21 Day Project. I would commit to doing one thing that I thought would get me feeling like best me for 21 days. And I would do it over and over again. I wrote in my blog at the time, 21 days is just long enough to be challenging, just short enough to be attainable, and I think just enough time to maybe form some healthy habits. In my experience, one healthy habit usually begets another. And I'm not even sure it's habits I'm after so much as the accomplishment of small things and the elimination of excuses. Excuses that it's too late, too early, too cold, too hot, or I'm too tired, too busy, too anything. That's how it began, and I've been running the 21 Day Project for myself ever since. This series is dedicated to each one of those projects so that when you are running your 21 Day Project, you have the story of mine and the encouragement to just begin. 21 days of 10,000 steps. I'll share a little bit about my why, where it all begins, share some examples of a good day, some examples of a challenging day, some lessons I learned along the way, and I'll leave you with some advice in case you're thinking of doing your own walk, step, 21 day project. Okay, story time. Every 21 Day Project should start with a story. The story is we did a family beach week in June. And by family, it's my parents, it's my siblings, it's my nieces. We're all together, and our activities largely revolve around my two nieces. Therefore, it is not just a week of lounging by the beach. We are at the zoo. We went to the Kennedy Space Center. We went to the surf shop. We're out and about and really living our best lives over the course of a week. I got home from that week thinking, this is living. You know, like we had all this family connectivity time, fun in the sun, lots of activity. And I had this thought of like, I wonder how many steps I got in while we were there. I wasn't even thinking about it. Also, I don't really have like a traditional regular step goal. I just like didn't get in a lot of actual like fitness. So I was like, oh, I probably got in enough steps. I went to check my phone. It's always tracking at all times. And it showed that I had over 10,000 steps every single day. And for the week, I had averaged over 10,000 steps. And I was like, amazing. That's just what I thought. But then I saw another line in the health app that showed my average from the year. And my average year to date was 7,000 steps a day. And there was something about that just didn't match. I had just gotten home from a week where I felt like I was living my best life. I was living life to the hilt. I wasn't even thinking about steps or activity. And I got it in just as part of that, me living my best life included walking everywhere. And on a regular daily basis, I wasn't hitting that same metric. Therefore, 21 days of 10,000 steps. I really wanted to feel like I was living my best life, and I wanted it to be this thing that just happens automatically without thinking about it, just like I had experienced on my family beach week. But it wasn't that yet. So 21 days I thought would get me closer to the kind of person that walks 10,000 steps without even thinking about it, was my ultimate goal. So let's get into it. How did the 21 days unfold? What's the good, the bad, the ugly? Let me just start by saying when your baseline is 7,000 steps and you're trying to get to 10,000 steps, it's not really as easy as it sounds. My habits and routines and rituals got me to 7,000 on a normal basis. I needed to make some small tweaks to my routines and rituals that would get me that extra 3,000 steps. Therefore, it became the thing I did right when I woke up in the morning. It didn't matter how far I went, even if I just went on a little walkabout, it kind of primed my body for like, this is what we do now. We get our steps in. It became the thing that I did with friends. Forget happy hour. I was in my girl walk era. If you wanted to hang out, we were going for a walk. It became something that, and on the days I didn't want to go for a walk, I would choose something that was really fun to walk to, which in my world, in most cases, was coffee. So it's like I walk to the coffee and I kind of have that like reward waiting for me. That was really helpful on the days I didn't want to go. But even in my girl walk era, when it became fun to do with friends, the excuses were still aplenty. I would just like to articulate and clarify that anytime when you're in a 21-day project, the excuses always abound. So I want to share a little bit about overcoming excuses specifically in this project and kind of the mental shift that happened for me. One of my besties was coming over and we were planning on doing a girl walk, but the weather was iffy at best. It was more than iffy. There was a tropical storm heading our way. So I said, just come over and we'll figure it out. On her way over, I had already decided that I wasn't going to actually go for a walk. I was going to do a workout. And if she wanted to go for a walk, she could go for a walk and then we could hang out afterwards. So she gets there and the weather is actually kind of like calm at this point. It's not super rainy and it's like there's a little calm in the storm. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going on the walk. I'm going to do a workout because I just kind of want to be dry. And she's like, really? That'd be so fun. And I was like, nope, not me. I'm gonna do a little workout here and stay dry. And then I was like, actually, I'll go with you. I'll do like a loop and then like circle back. So that became like my mental negotiation is I'll just go for a little loop. Well, long story short, we got out in the rain. It was so fun. It wasn't torrential downpour. It was awesome to check out the scene. I think we did end up getting really rained on. We ended up going in the water. It was all super fun. And I came back feeling elated. Just in general, you've got endorphins from the walk. You've got the energy of the storm coming. We've been in the ocean at this point. So I come back feeling elated and actually really glad that I didn't let my mind chatter convince me otherwise that I couldn't go for a walk in the rain. So that is one example of overcoming excuses. My favorite day in the 21-day challenge, my parents were here and my mom and I decided to go for a walk. It was in the middle of the day. We went way further than we originally planned. And by the time we turned around, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty. I'm so dehydrated. We didn't bring water. We went out in the heat of the day. We could have planned a little better. So I set my sights on a spot that we could walk to, which was on our way back, where we could just get water and sit in the water. And so that became our next destination. The way the body works, by the time you're thirsty, it's already too late. You're dehydrated. But we made it to that halfway point, the little grill on the water, bellied up and asked for ice water. We took off our shoes, went and sat in the water, just really cooled off. But it was a moment of not just getting our 10,000 steps in, making the most of it, figuring out how to get hydrated on our way back. And it was kind of a little bit of a Jimmy Buffett moment, like toes in the sand. But instead of margaritas, we had ice cold waters, and nothing was better than at that moment. And so that was one of my favorite days, going too far, trying to figure out water. When we finally got back, my dad was like, I thought you guys were just going for like 20 minutes. And it was like 3 hours later. But we figured it out. And honestly, it was my favorite day of the entire 21-day challenge. So let's kind of do a little debrief beyond the best days and the most challenging days, and especially overcoming excuses. Did I do all 21 days? Great question. There was at least one day where I got just under 10,000, and it was more a matter of not keeping an eye on it and ultimately like just missing the mark. I don't consider that a failure by any means. More often than not, I was the girl who walked 10,000 steps. That's really ultimately what you want to get to by day 21, that more often than not, you're the person that does the thing that they say they're going to do. Most days I would check it before I really like settled in for the night. And many evenings I ended up on the phone with my sister on a walk saying I have to get my steps in. And those weren't the fun days. It was never very fun to try to catch up at the end of the day. And it wasn't my point. My point was to be the person who walks 10,000 10,000 steps is just part of their everyday life. Not that's like trying to track and measure and like, oh my gosh, I need 200 more steps. That was kind of the more miserable side of it. But that was the cause and effect. The cause of that was not getting out earlier in the day, and the effect was I had to like walk around the block 500 times to get the rest of the steps in. So what I learned from this 21-day challenge is just kind of like a refresh to movement as a regular baseline for how I live my life, is I learned to start early, to go often, to go with friends at every chance possible. I am most proud of myself. This is going to be the case in almost any 21-day challenge that you do. I am most proud of myself on the days that it wasn't easy. There are going to be days that it's not easy. That's when you double down on the commitment that you made to yourself. You double down on this thing that you said you're gonna do, and you do it anyways. Those are always my most proud moments. Some advice if you're going to start your own 21-day project that includes walking or some sort of step counts. First, know your baseline. What is your average now for the year, for the past 6 months? And then make your minimum viable dose, your minimum step count that you want to try to hit every day. Make that something like 2,000 to 4,000 steps above your average. In the 21-day project, we're really talking about small tweaks to the existing routines and habits. My second piece of advice is make it a daily goal, not an average over the week. So a lot of the apps that are going to track your steps, they will offer you your daily step count and your weekly average. And it's really tempting when you have a low day to justify that you'll just do more tomorrow to make up for it, so it'll average out. Just for, and specifically for the 21-day project, make it a daily goal and don't make up for it the next day. It's a trap of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and it's just not the energetic that we're going for 21 days. 21-day project is all about making small tweaks to your existing routine and honoring that commitment that you make to yourself day after day after day. It's that repetition of doing the thing that you said you're going to do that's so powerful. So just for the 21-day project, make it a daily step goal and not the average over the course of the month, and definitely don't get into that trap of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. You can do that after your 21-day project for sure, 100%, but during the 21-day project you really want to honor that daily commitment. By all means, make walking your new happy hour, or at least make it an alternative to the ways you hang out with your friends. It is a great way to get a conversation in, really have connection with others. Maybe you even walk to happy hour if you still need that, but consider an alternative to how you're currently hanging out with friends, because it just makes everything more fun when you do it with friends. The last piece of advice I'll share with you is to make it easy to say yes to. So in my case, on the days when I really didn't feel like going on a long walk, I chose a destination that was something I really wanted to go to versus like I have to get out and do a walk. For me, that's almost always going to be coffee. So consider walking to a destination, even if it means you need to get a ride back. So even if the destination is so far that you're not going to want to walk back, figure it out, get creative, make it fun, make it easy to say yes to. If you do a 21-day project that includes walking or counting and measuring your steps, I hope you will let me know. I would love to follow along and cheer you on. You can always tag me at Fulltime Life Steph on Instagram. That is all for this little mini episode. This was so fun to reflect on. Happy 21-day projecting. And in case you need the encouragement, just begin. Ready to start your 21-day project? Download my free 21-day tracker, or even better, sign up for our next 21-day project together. It's workshop meets challenge meets cheer squad for you to design your own 21-day project, set yourself up for success, and finally finish what you excitedly start. I will be your very own accountability bestie. Find out more at the21dayproject.com.